All right. Hello once again, all. We're going to be talking about your newsletter in this lecture or advice section or whatever it is. Um, so the easiest way to begin this is to flip to, in the ninth edition of your textbook anyway, chapter 22, Connecting with the Public. You'll see they have a variety of genres listed, one of them being the newsletter. So flip to the newsletter section. We'll go over that in a second. And while you're doing that here, I also have on screen just the assignment description. Remember that this assignment asks you to sort of recycle, reuse, repurpose your research materials from the recommendation report and essentially write a different genre for a fairly different purpose. The recommendation report was problem solution, very, very formal, very, very integrated into a company's business. This is more for public information or community information, the community being whoever works for this fictional company that you're creating for this assignment. Um, that said, the company doesn't have to be fictional, but for most people it is. They just kind of call their company like Tech Writing Inc. or Environmental Education Inc. and or whatever it is, and then what they wind up doing is talking about writing inside of that field and inside of that organization, as if they're just trying to teach their fellow employees a bit of the ins and outs of tech writing. And so that's a great way to approach this assignment. You'll see that type of thing existing in the three student examples that I've posted online as well. One on science writing, one is on blogging, and one is on environmental uh, risk communication writing. So if you look at chapter 22, though, of your book, under the newsletter section, they've just got a nice list of bullet points. Newsletters can do a variety of things, have a variety of features. Some of them will be better for this assignment, and some won't really factor into this assignment, but could factor into newsletters that you write in the future at work. So if you look at the bullet points, chapter 22 under newsletter, descriptions of new activities undertaken by the organization. Certainly that's something that transfers to this assignment. You can imagine that your newsletter is meant to launch some sort of initiative to improve tech writing inside of this organization that you've sort of created, that you've imagined. And so you could see this as sort of a new activity for the company. And therefore you're educating people on what tech writing is, why it's important, how it works, maybe some genre analysis, as you see inside of some of the old student examples that I've put up. Um, the list goes on in your textbook. Major investments by the organization. That probably won't matter so much for this assignment. Announcements for upcoming events. You could do little things like that. That's nice. Um, but since it's a fictitious company, don't invest a lot of time into writing fictitious events. Instead, imagine your newsletter as educating the group of people in the company about better writing practices. Um, what aspects of writing, what types of writing are completely up to you for this assignment, as is your role, but you're just writing this newsletter for a community of people. Um, Profiles of new members is one thing that's on the list in the textbook that could be important. You'll notice that the three student examples do have profiles of people. That was easier for them because they wrote that during a fall or spring course when they actually have to interview an expert in a field. Uh, if this is a summer course, you do not have to do that, and so you won't have a profile necessarily of a writer, but you could still profile sort of what a good technical writer would do, what their background would be, something like that. So imagining a profile as sort of a subgenre in the newsletter might still give you a section to write new material to work with. Um, Important changes in relevant laws or regulations, that could be important here, especially if you're doing sort of any type of legal writing, as some of you are, um, or anything sort of administrative or something like that. Other than that, Chapter 22 has this nice sort of green-blue box of what you need rhetorically in a newsletter, things they normally have. Banner or masthead, you'll definitely want to have that. Table of contents, give me a little one, even if it is just a two-page newsletter that you're making, just so you can practice putting together a table of contents. The headline, a byline would be you. Um, the jump lines you don't necessarily need because it's not a long enough newsletter. Continuation headings, yes. Photographs, you definitely want good pictures here. Remember that a newsletter is supposed to be engaging in some way. It's not just that formal informational report. that's reporting on a lot of research and happenings, events in a company, but rather you're trying to educate and inform, but also in some ways, I don't want to say entertain, but engage them with your design as well as the information you give them, right? It's a lot less informal, um, or I should say more informal than other things that we've written for class. Pull quotes, etc., etc. So that checklist works nice in the book. Let's get out of that and into some examples. So if we look at our first example here, writing in the scientific workplace, um, you don't really need this cover page. This first one we're looking at is good in terms of covering science writing, but could probably be improved in some way. Do notice though a nice layout. You've got a nice banner across the top. You've got a decent title, right? You've got sort of this volume issue thing. You'd want to do that. You've got a nice picture that seems to match science. This was sort of earth science writing that this person is talking about. We don't really know exactly what the organization is. It seems to be Clean Consulting. So it seems to be some sort of environmental management company that would do scientific writing. That works pretty well. We've got your table of contents. We've got technical writing and its importance as a needed skill to kind of open up this. Then a profile on the interviewee that this person interviewed. Here you couldn't quite do that, but you could do something like that. Maybe you could pull out some type of a profile of a case study from some of your articles that were your research articles that you read, or something like that. But maybe there's some way you can create something like a profile, or maybe just sort of what a generic expert does or is, the background they have, the things they do, etc., etc. Good color scheme, nice picture, right? You got some good photos, well balanced on the page. You've got this really great quote down here. For you, maybe that's a quote from an article or something like that. That would be fantastic. And then just a nice breakdown of the different things that tech writing can be. You don't have to do these. There are many things you can talk about. This person just shows some basics. Who writes technical documents? Collaboration is important. And then down here, really interesting move, just a really brief genre analysis, looking at an abstract, how to write an abstract, right? And looking at the different sections. You will notice as you go through that it's a bit sparse down here. Looks like they ran out of room. You probably don't want to do that. If you're going to give me this much information here, you probably want to do that at the bottom as well, right? But otherwise, a really nice move to show the genre and teach the audience something specific rather than just the general information that you're getting up here about who writes technical documents, collaboration, etc. Another good pull quote to kind of break things up, keep things interesting. So that's fairly successful, but you can see it could use some work at the same time. We'll move on to this one right here. This is on blogging. So again, this is an interview project. But you'll see this one feels more journalistic. You've got some really good action photos here. If we look back at the science, you don't have action photos. You do have a person, but there's not a lot of action. And there's no action happening here, whether it's writing or river cleanup or whatever it might be. Here we get this nice feeling of action, of baking here. This one feels fairly journalistic. It's fairly narrative, right? The last one didn't have a lot of narrative. The science writing example was a lot of sort of expository, explanatory type of stuff. This tends to be closer to narrative, like it's a journalistic piece or something like that. However, at the same time, notice you have some pretty strong topics in each paragraph. This one seems to be about the training, getting interested in blogging. This one seems to be baking, crafting, stuff like that, developing the blog. This one seems to be to focus on social media. So good, strong topic sentences here. Here's one on writing, voice and style. That seems to function as a topic sentence. If you take the question right here along with her answer, and so it seems we've got a new topic here as well. So that's pretty well done. You can see it's a lot denser than the science writing, and you probably want to be more in this area. Do notice it doesn't use columns. Columns are fairly popular in newsletter writing, but you don't have to do that necessarily. Here are, if we flip to page 2, there's our columns. Very readable. Nice big heading here to control the information, to announce that something new is happening. Nifty little feature here, since it's blogging on baking, is to include a recipe. Why not? So if you read through this then, This seems to focus more on a genre analysis. This one here seemed to be about the person, page 1, and what she thought of when she approached this job of blogging. And this one seems to be more focused on a text itself, a genre itself. Um, so Sarah uses first person, right, et cetera, for writing these type of things. So it's more of almost like a rhetorical analysis or genre analysis here, but again balanced with good pictures and all the things we'd expect to see in a newsletter. Kind of 2/3, 1/3 if we look at the arrangement here. Good use of color, all kinds of stuff. So not a lot of sections in this one compared to the science writing. Just 2 sections, page 1 basically and page 2, and done. And that works fine too. That's great. Notice that there's not necessarily a lot on technical writing here, but it certainly is focused still on writing, even if it doesn't feel like technical writing. So this is fairly informal, nice casual tone, and I'm okay with that for the assignment. This is a really successful newsletter. If we want to look at one more example, we'll take a look at this one here on outdoor recreation, on writing and risk management. So this too came out of an interview, and you can see that the first section is a profile and covering what this expert writer of outdoor recreation thinks of when he's thinking of tech writing. And also just how he got started and stuff like that, right? So sort of a human interest type of thing going on here. Background on an interesting person, a photo of him, looking all rough and rugged there. It's my friend Eric. And the photo really works well, though, to figure out who this guy is and to help the photo accentuate his story here, right? And slowly, though, we move into ideas of credibility, precision, etc. in the writing. So it still shifts from human interest on Eric into actually what he writes and his advice on writing. So again, you see some good pull quotes, nicely done, some really great images, the banners and stuff like this. Really engaging, a nice looking piece. I definitely know what this is about, and again, it's showing action. This is, we had the hands baking on the last one. This person climbing throws me right into action. Makes me want to read it, right? Here's Eric on the side of a mountain, etc., right? All right, and now we've moved beyond the profile, and again, it looks like we're focusing on genres in some way, right? We're learning about topics rather than about a person. So we're learning about risk management here. We get a little bit of background stuff and how to professionalize, but we get basically a definition, ongoing training, and then the types of things that go into risk management writing, the reasons that it exists. So short paragraphs, but a new topic, new information in each paragraph. Again, good images to kind of break things up so it's not too dense, right? So you'll notice the articles are fairly short, or I should say the modules, the little sections are fairly short. Manual writing, some more genre analysis. Notice here we don't actually see the genre, we just read about it, right? And that's okay too, that's fine. And then we get promotional materials, right? So a new sort of collection of genres, family of genres, something like that here. But again, what you want to do as you read is notice that each paragraph has some type of new topic, some type of new information where we're being taught how to write these type of things or why they exist or what one might think of when they begin to write these things. And there's actually some advertisement here, some promotional stuff like you would see in a real newsletter. And then, looking for more information, go here. So again, that's something a real newsletter would do. So this is really well done. Closes off with another action photo down here at the bottom to accentuate this original action photo. So this one in many ways is my favorite. I guess I like them all for different reasons. But these are all strong examples of the newsletter. So if these are the things you're thinking of, you'll be successful. The last thing I might say is you read the recommendation report by this student on the liability waivers. So you can see how she turned her same number of sources, that sort of database or glut of research and interview that she found, and she turned it into something fairly different. The recommendation report became this type of newsletter. So what did they share? Well, sort of outdoor recreation and the idea of risk communication, but really they feel like completely different pieces. And so these are really well done, different genres, different purposes. And that is the point of this assignment, to take the same thing and spin it into different types of writing. So that should get you started. If you need anything, let me know, but I would do a little bit more analysis on your textbook features and examples of newsletters, as well as give these a good read. and kind of, again, reverse engineer these things and see what type of things you would talk about in your own newsletter that seem to be matching up with what these people have written in their fairly successful newsletters. All right, thank you.